Hi friends, it's diys-by-dar, and Mother Nature is messing with me, so I still can't get into my barn and start to work on the other piece I'm really looking forward to working on, so I'm going to do this one next. This one is a little sentimental. It is a little, I believe what they called this was a toddler's chair, and I'm not sure what year that was, if it was the 50s, the 40s. One like this, if anybody can give me the year, leave it in the comments for me because I'd like to know. The reason it's special, it was my father-in-law's little bench, that chair that he used to sit on when he worked down in his wood shop. And I have acquired a lot of his tools, so thank you, Floyd, for that. And the funny thing about this chair is, it was his work chair that he sat in, because I used to call my mother and father-in-law the hobbits because they were so tiny. So, and my husband is, I don't know, 5'7", but that's okay. And his mom and dad were shorter than that. I think my mother-in-law was like 4'11" maybe. So we used to call him the hobbit. So this chair was perfect for him. I'm planning on redoing it, and I may use it down as my pottery stool. So I'm going to put that new surfprep sander to the test on this. And I also have some Odie's oil and Odie's wax coming. And I am going to put that on this chair afterwards. And I am going to put that to the test to see how that holds up. So that is my plan. And as you always know, we're going to go ahead and we're going to clean it first. Then I may get to some scraping, and then I'm going to pull that surf prep out and do a little bit more sanding. So let's get to it. Well, as you can see, it really wasn't that dirty. So I went ahead and tried this new scraper to see if I could get the rest of this top off, and I did get a little bit of it off. And I didn't want to go too deeply and leave big gashes in the wood. It already had a lot of problems. So I kind of just took off what I could. Well, here was my first trick with the surf prep. I offset the sanding sponge, and I was able to get around all those little tight spots around those spindles. I could get in between them as well, and having that sponge that way, it kind of saves on nicking up the bottom of them spindles when you're trying to get in between them. Using the surf prep again, I have 100 grit sandpaper on there, and the interface pad, which is a 1/2 inch spongy pad. And as long as you keep the sander moving and kind of sculpt around that wood, it really is a time saver. Even to get along on the inside of that curve, you can take and work it all the way around and get it. Doing actual spindles, here again, it worked really well. You just have to be careful. Work your way around and get what you can get. There was the side that I worked on compared to what I still had to go. Still quite a bit of heaviness around those spindles at the bottom, so I went ahead and changed my sandpaper, 100 grit, offset it, and you're able to get right inside. going around the legs, just keep that sander moving. I have 2 sponge pads on there now. A 1/2 inch interface pad and a 1/2 inch coarse. One on top of the other, offset it, and you can get into them grooves. Well, time for my skill sander and the finger attachment. And you just flip it on there and push that little button and you're good to go. I took leftover sandpaper, new sandpaper, cut it in half, and then just folded it at the corner, which gave me a little bit of cushion around the sides of it and right at the tip. That way you can really get inside all of those little cracks and grooves that are really difficult to get around that your sander won't get. Then tragedy. Great. Now what? Well, now I have to take it apart. I'm gonna have to use a mallet. Here we go. I should have hung on to the piece. There it went. Now, to try to put it back on, this was really a challenge because the way that it had to be held, it was almost by each corner and then across the middle. So I had to call in reinforcements to help me put the clamps on. And please, no judging on Sunday morning attire because we were just kind of lazing around, and this is the crazy get-ups that we usually wear, and I love my husband's colors. We started to get them on, and then we realized that they weren't gonna fit. We couldn't get the other one across the top. It was too tall. So I don't know, I would have never thought of it, but my husband's idea was to go ahead and you take and you turn each one and try to maintain their hold on the chair, so then you can get that top one on across the other corner. And we still didn't quite have them low enough, so we had to adjust them again and just turn them and tilt them a little bit more to the side. Then we were good to go. It was secured, and I had to leave it overnight to glue that piece back on. Since I had it apart, I really could use that surfprep sander at this point and take the top of that chair, that curved portion, and really get on the inside. Once again, using that 1/2 inch interface pad with the 10 grit sandpaper on there, it really made nice, easy work just going around it. And then I was also able to sand that bottom portion better and straighten up where that crack was at and try to sand that down so you really couldn't see that anymore. The spindles. I want you to notice how nice that presses in, and I just have that 1/2 inch interface pad and the 100 grit sandpaper, And by just pressing down and rolling it continuously, I was able to easily take that material off each spindle. Time to put the glue back in. I wasn't really sure how much to put in. I didn't want a big mess squirting out all over. I had to add glue to the bottom portion of the chair as well as the top portion of the chair. Of course, Wood Bond tight glue. I had to number the spindles and indicate which one was the top to put them back where they came from so they fit in easily. Then it was going to be time to put the top back on. Hey, come help me.
No.
Hurry. Hurry.
What?
Help. All the glue's in. I gotta line them up. Now, I ordered some Keda dye stain powder, and I used the odiesoil, and it is very much like a honey consistency. I used 5 teaspoons of this in another jar, and I kept using the brown Keda dye, and there is, I think, 1 ounce in each package, and I ended up using that whole package of Keda dye in there, and I was testing it on a piece of wood as I went along, and it wasn't just dark enough, so I ended up putting that whole package in there, which I think that was a lot more compared to other dyes. And the Keda dye doesn't say that it is used in a straight type of wax or oil like this, but I tried it anyway because it was all I had access to at the time. Oh, here we go. After all that sanding, here it goes. When I started putting it on, it looks rather light right here, but I did notice it did darken up after a few minutes, and it really became the color that I was looking for. I was just using a little scrubby pad like they recommend with Odie's oil to finish this. And once I did get the whole chair finished, I let it sit the appropriate amount of time. Of course, after I buffed any excess oil off, and I finished it with the Odie's wax. Here's what we started with.